This woman was in prison for 50 years, okay? The nerve of him to ask her, the last known person to be seen with his son, did you kill my son? The pretenses behind her attempting to clean any part of this crime scene. She had been accused of killing her husband by way of poisoning him.
Yeah, after that I get out, I walk home.
That confession was a joke. I mean, he could have said anything. He could have said anything, and there would have been no proof. Every time we see something like this, where it's like, there's no care or like regard, why would you cover for this man and allow him to leave the scene of the crime and act like he was never there?
Very much. The story behind a couple arrested in Big Bend this week after authorities say they murdered a woman in Missouri. The story is growing increasingly bizarre.
It turns out Gypsy Blanchard and her mother were in the news before. As the charges against her are detailed, you can hear her sobs.
Stole money from her deceased mother's safe and fled the state of Missouri.
And when she does speak in Waukesha County Court, she sounds like a child.
2103 West Volunteer Way.
But Gypsy Blanchard is an adult. Although authorities aren't sure exactly how old she is, it's likely somewhere between 19 and 23.
I remember my mom had gave me this little glass house, and she said, one day this will be real. And now it finally is.
That's Gypsy 7 years ago, clutching her mother Dee Dee's hand, the woman she's now accused of asking her boyfriend, Nicholas Godejohn, to stab to death.
It's so easy to live here, and it's so peaceful.
The two were interviewed after Habitat for Humanity built them a handicapped accessible home because of Gypsy's disabilities. They said she was confined to a wheelchair.
We have an awesome bathtub. It's a jacuzzi tub meant for my muscles. And we have a wonderful ramp.
And I want to start off with saying things are not always as they appear.
Authorities say the two were lying. You can see Gypsy for yourself walking into court. Now, along with the investigation into Dee Dee's murder, authorities are also looking into what appears to be a financial scheme.
This is a tragic event surrounded by mystery and public deception.
Alleging Gypsy and her mother lied about Gypsy's health to get money and attention.
It just proves that happy endings are not just in fairy tales, they're real and true in real life also.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl Kelly, and we're back with another video. If you guys are new to the channel, please hit the subscribe if you like true crime stories, news, politics, and so much more. And if you're a returning listener or subscriber, thank you so much guys for being a friend. I really do appreciate y'all so much. And please interact with the video and the channel. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like the video at the end if you like it. I would really appreciate all your interactions. If you do appreciate the channel, if you do enjoy the channel, please interact. So let's get into this story, guys, today of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I'm sure you guys have been hearing about this. This has been absolutely everywhere, all over social media. This girl was recently released, or I should say this woman, released from prison after killing her mother, or helping to facilitate the murder of her mother by way of a boyfriend that she met online. So there's been a lot of talk about this and a lot of heated debates, and even in my own family, I think that I have a different perspective on it. And so it's going to be a little bit different, rather than like a straight up true crime video. I'm going to talk about some of the background story of the actual crime and Gypsy Rose's story. And then we're going to get into more of the debate side of this, where people are, you know, really just hyping this woman up on social media all over every internet platform. And people are just really excited that a woman who was accused of having her mother murdered was released from prison. And even my own mother and my own sister were not really seeing a problem with her short prison sentence, or the fact that, you know, her boyfriend is still in prison and will probably spend the rest of his life in prison. So let's get into it, guys. I'm going to talk a little bit about my opinion in regards to this whole fiasco, and I want to know what you guys think about it as well. So without further ado, let's jump on in. Gypsy Rose, who was born in 1991 to Dee Dee Blanchard and her father, and from the very beginning, her mother had been trying to paint this picture that her child was sick that she had all of these different ailments and all of these different problems in her health and in her life, and she started with claiming that her daughter had sleep apnea. So when Gypsy was 8 years old, Dee Dee described her as suffering from leukemia, muscular dystrophy, and said she required a wheelchair and a feeding tube. So there was a multitude of different things that Dee Dee claimed that her daughter had been suffering from. The list of medical problems that Dee Dee related about her daughter would go on to include seizures, asthma, hearing, visual impairments. She used this as some sort of ploy to get attention, which is horrible. It was later realized that Dee Dee was suffering from Munchausen by proxy, but nobody apparently was able to see the warning signs until it was much too late. She ended up isolating her daughter, even from her own father. Due to Dee Dee's actions, Gypsy was prescribed a litany of different medications, and she had to sleep using a breathing machine, which she apparently didn't need. And she also went through multiple surgeries, including procedures on her eyes, removal of her salivary glands, and then she was given medication that would create symptoms which would mirror the illnesses that Dee Dee was trying to convince people that Gypsy had. And with these medications, it would cause her teeth to begin to rot. And she saw many different doctors throughout her life. Dee Dee would be the one to always take control. She would be the one to always do the talking in the doctor's offices. Gypsy would later go on to say that she was told by her mother that she wasn't allowed to speak, that anytime a doctor would question her or begin to question the narrative surrounding her illnesses, that she would stop seeing that doctor immediately and would switch to different doctors that would align with her views on Gypsy's treatment and how she was to be viewed in a medical sense. There were many doctors also who went along with what Dee Dee wanted, which is a huge problem, and I think needs to be addressed, if it hasn't already been, expeditiously, because the fact that the medical community had seen this girl so many different times, regardless of the manipulation done by Dee Dee Blanchard, regardless of what was happening with the Munchausen by proxy or any of that in regards to the relationship between Gypsy and Dee Dee, how was it possible that this girl was given medications, surgeries even, that were unnecessary, that were not needed? That in and of itself is atrocious misconduct. I mean, just absolutely mind-blowing. So there were plenty of doctors that were more than fine going along with this farce that Dee Dee was perpetrating on her daughter. And there were a few doctors that might have raised questions here and there, but never to the point of actually alerting authorities or reporting what they suspected to be Munchausen by proxy or medical abuse. Dee Dee also had some nurses training so she could accurately describe symptoms. Rod Blanchard, who was the father of Gypsy Rose, was told that their daughter had a chromosomal disorder, and when some of Dee Dee's family began to notice that Gypsy didn't seem to need a wheelchair and began to ask questions. So after moving from Louisiana to Missouri in 2005, she began to make other claims about Gypsy Rose's medical records and her medical history, and claimed to doctors who asked for some sort of proof of these diagnoses that her medical records had been lost in Hurricane Katrina. And then in 2011, Gypsy tried to get away from her mother by running away with a man she had met at a science fiction convention. But Dee Dee was able to track them down, and she convinced the man that Gypsy was a minor, although she was 19 at the time. And Gypsy would later go on to say that her punishment for running away with this man after being found was that Dee Dee had smashed her computer and physically restrained her to her bed after returning home. Gypsy also stated that her mother would sometimes hit her and deny her food. Eventually, she was able to be given privileges back, that she was able to get back online, and she eventually joined a Christian dating site where she would go on to meet Nicholas Godejohn. So she confided in him the truth about her abuse from her mother and would end up asking him to kill her mother so that they could be together. She put this idea onto him. She wanted it. She was the one who suggested it first, which she has all admitted. And if she had never met Nicholas Godejohn, he would not be in prison today. And her mother may or may not still be alive to this day. We don't know. We really can't tell. But she was the one who had the idea to do this. I just want to state that because this is something that she also admitted to. And even though she says now that she regrets it and she doesn't wish that her mother had been murdered, it still doesn't change the fact that at one point this was what she felt she needed to do. So in June of 2015, she invited Nicholas Godejohn to her home, and they had already met once before where they had had sex in a movie theater. She had asked her mother to bring her to the movies to go meet with Nicholas. It was kind of solidified the plan to move forward with this, which they did. So Nicholas would go on to stab Dee Dee a total of 17 times with a knife that was provided by Gypsy Rose, which she said she stole from Walmart. And Gypsy was in the home while this happened. She waited in the bathroom, later claiming that she had to cover her ears in order to avoid hearing the horrific screams of her mother being murdered in the room right next door. After doing this, they later went on to describe that they had sex in relation to this murder. I guess they were in the mood for some hanky-panky after doing a murder and, hearing your mom be murdered. And this is what happened. They later went on to say that they ended up mailing the murder weapon, the knife, back to his home in Wisconsin. And this was done in order to evade police, to avoid detection, which was an absolutely idiotic move. And Nicholas also had autism. It was later revealed, which also is extremely telling and just extremely tragic in the sense that you could argue that both of these people were extremely limited in regards to their mental capacities and their innocence. Their childlike demeanors were both kind of stunted, and their ability to make sound decisions, and this was due to no fault of their own. I mean, obviously Gypsy had been abused psychologically, physically, medically by her mother for years, and Nicholas had autism and was obviously struggling with the different limitations that go along with that. He was easily manipulated, and even though Gypsy was also a victim of abuse, I think it's fair to say that she was the one who manipulated him into making this decision. And he made the decision of his own free will, a very stupid decision, but again, this would have never happened had it not been for Gypsy Rose coming up with the idea, suggesting the idea, pushing the idea, and ultimately allowing it to go on that night.
In June 2015, law enforcement enter the Blanchard house and find her massacred corpse, a later autopsy revealing she had been stabbed 17 times.
This is all the more horrific is not just the injury of the knife being plunged through her back, but also penetrating the lungs, and she is essentially suffocating to death on her own blood.
Initially, Gypsy is nowhere to be found, but then a clue. Someone using Dee Dee's Facebook account posts graphic and disturbing messages. Investigators track the IP address to Nicholas Godejohn. Once Wisconsin authorities burst into his home, they find Gypsy alive and well. In a shocking twist, Nicholas decides to tell police what happened.
I'll admit it. I did actually stab her. I'll admit it.
Do you know how many times you stabbed her?
4.
You stabbed her 4?
Yeah, 4 times. Okay. The 4th one, I felt it go into, I think it might have been her lungs.
Okay.
You had an individual that had total and complete dominance. He essentially straddled her, was on her back, and began to plunge this knife into her multiple times.
But did Nicholas act alone? Did he kill Dee Dee and kidnap Gypsy? The story takes a turn again.
Did Gypsy know that you were going to kill her mother?
Honestly, he asked me to.
Okay. So Gypsy knew you were going to do it because Gypsy asked you to.
Yes.
Why did she ask you to do that?
Because she thought it was her only way to be with me.
Okay.
Investigators piece together a fuller picture of the murder. Gypsy wanted her mother dead.
Gypsy doesn't want to be controlled. No human actually wants that. She wants to break free and understands that the only way that she can break free is by her mother no longer being in the picture. So because he sees this person that he loves being abused and being hurt, he's willing to then engage in any kind of behavior that would succeed in that goal of the two of them being together.
Nicholas explains that Gypsy led him into the house, gave him the knife, and stood back as he proceeded to stab Dee Dee to death in the middle of the night.
How she said it?
She pretty much yelled it.
Yelped it?
It's like,
Gypsy! Okay.
she was loud.
And what did you do when she did that?
That didn't stop me from keep on going.
Okay, you just kept stabbing her?
Yeah.
He just continued to kill her over and over and over again. He wanted to make sure that she was in fact dead. This is what we refer to as overkilling.
Nicholas, however, is not like every other suspect. He was diagnosed with autism.
Autism spectrum disorder, one of the hallmarks is this inability to have reciprocal social interactions, meaning everything seems to be kind of just one-sided for him.
Frankly, he seemed like a very reasonable, genuinely nice young man during my interactions with him. Now, his interactions were a little bit odd and stiff initially, particularly, which is very common with the autism spectrum. And Nicholas was very mild in that spectrum.
He also has an extremely low IQ.
He doesn't understand complicated and complex concepts. So just immediately being asked whether or not he did it, yeah, he would immediately confess to the crime. He has no reason not to.
I think Nicholas's confession was done intelligently and voluntarily. There's no evidence of any coercion whatsoever, and he did so voluntarily. So just because he has a certain level of diminished capacity doesn't mean that he is not capable of giving providing a confession that will stand up in a court of law.
Had you discussed alternative methods of killing your mother?
Yes.
What other alternatives had you considered?
Poison, arson, guns.
She was the one who pushed him to do it.
Who talked you into killing your mother?
I did. I talked him into it.
Why not just tell somebody rather than kill your mother? Why was that not an option?
I truly didn't believe that nobody would believe me if I told anyone. My mother had legal documents in place saying that I was incompetent.
For Gypsy, it was her perceived key to the freedom that she had so longed to have. She didn't have the ability to create what we view as kind of normalized relationships with anybody.
And what was your mom doing that caused you to be more desperate?
Things were getting physically and more physically abusive. The hitting was more. The starving was more.
And when it came to those alarming Facebook posts from Dee Dee's account, guess who wrote them?
Who made that post?
I did.
Did you make that post pretending to be somebody else?
Yes.
And who were you pretending to be?
Yeah.
This is just her wanting to make sure that all of the blame would then be placed on Nicholas.
And why would you make that post claiming to be Nick?
I wanted her to be found. I wanted the cops to find her body.
I've had this happen in a couple of cases where perpetrators have called in cases where they have left a body behind, but yet they don't want the body to essentially decompose and be left all alone.
Yet it was Nicholas who actually killed Dee Dee.
Why didn't you kill your mother?
I didn't believe I could do it.
Gypsy wasn't even in the room.
When you were stabbing Dee in the bed, where was Gypsy at?
She was hiding in the bathroom.
Gypsy hiding in the bathroom is most likely a protective behavior. It's probably the only area in which she was able to be by herself without her mother's influence.
During cross-examination, the state chipped away at this idea that Gypsy was the mastermind.
You mentioned that how the murder was to take place, that was all up to the defendant, correct?
That is correct.
And it was the defendant that told you he wanted to stab your mom?
Correct.
And it was the defendant that told you he wanted a knife?
Yes.
You never told him to stab her 17 separate times, right?
No.
After the murder, it only got worse.
He wanted you to clean naked?
Yes, sir.
Because that kind of turned him on?
Yes, sir.
It's almost as if Gypsy selected someone, maybe, that parallels her mom. Someone that would be willing to control her to this point, that would debase and humiliate her.
So he's pretty much hypersexual. He's got this one person who is engaging in sexual acts and sexual behaviors and sexual conversations with him that he's interpreting as love. And again, having autism spectrum disorder means that he doesn't really understand reciprocity.
Nicholas Godejohn has quite the history. He was arrested in 2013 for allegedly masturbating in a McDonald's and carrying a knife. His apparent sexual proclivities may have played a role here as well. After the killing, he and Gypsy then have sex. Nicholas assures it was consensual.
Obviously, I was the one that was in charge, but she went along with it willingly.
Okay. And so what did you guys do when you had sex?
We pretty much did all three things. We did all of them.
Okay.
Gypsy, however, said she only agreed as a way to keep Nicholas from doing something truly disturbing.
When he asked you about raping your mother, you actually talked him out of it, right? And you did so by offering the alternative that he would be able to rape you after the murder, correct?
I wouldn't be surprised if the sexual act was actual.
And that is truly disturbing, absolutely abhorrent and disgusting. And I still am not sure I believe it though, because she admitted that she was the one who wrote those messages on the Facebook about the supposed, rape comments. And I don't think it was ever confirmed by Nicholas Godejohn that he was contemplating raping Dee Dee Blanchard. Now, I could be wrong about that, and if you guys watching this video, if you know anything contrary to that fact, please leave it in the comments down below. But after doing a lot of research and watching many different videos of the interrogation, I never saw where he made those claims, and he was pretty upfront and truthful from the very beginning about even the most sordid of details. So I just don't know if I believe that aspect of it. I think that she very possibly could have made that up based on some way of like justifying her posting those words on Facebook, because they were truly horrifying as well. But either way, it's disturbing. Whether or not she came up with a lie about it, or he actually truly wanted to do that act. I mean, just truly depraved individuals in both senses. I mean, because obviously the whole act, the whole entire crime was completely senseless and just truly disturbing, but that aspect of it brings it to just a whole new level.
The thing is, the good side of me originally refused to do it. Okay. And that's the reason why it was instant that it happened right away. Okay. Because my evil side of us actually did it. Okay. The one thing he said was, you're dead to me, is one thing he said.
Who's dead?
That part of me said. Okay. My evil side of me said.
Okay.
That there's more than one of the sides of each other that is in love with each other. So I got one side of her, his name is Kitty. There's like a little girl inside of her.
Multiple personality disorders or dissociative identity disorder. I don't believe either one of them have that.
For Gypsy, she pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 10 years in prison.
So one would ask, why would she plead guilty? So a couple of reasons. One, the evidence was very much stacked against her, not to mention to kind of get this over. This trial was likely to be an intense circus and would have brought out a lot of information that probably Gypsy would not have wanted to come out during the trial.
It's Mayberry. We're moving to Mayberry.
It didn't take a lot to convince Dee Dee and her daughter Gypsy Rose to make a new home in Aurora. They already knew it was meant to be.
It is the perfect town. The perfect place.
I think it was a blessing in disguise. It took something like a hurricane to make us have a happy ending.
Dee Dee was happy enough just having medical care for Gypsy. She says she never expected this.
It's amazing. It's amazing, the outpouring of love and support.
Dr. Janet Jordan met Dee Dee and Gypsy while on a mission trip to the hurricane-ravaged areas. She says she knew right away she'd see them again.
They're like lost souls who were meant to have been born and raised in Aurora.
After arranging a helicopter ride from Louisiana to St. John's Hospital, the process began to find them a permanent home. It turns out St. John's already owned this house, and with the help of local donations, it was turned into a home.
I think that's just kind of what we're all about. We're all about doing what we can to help people that are in bad situations.
It's beautiful, and it's happy, and it's full of love.
Gypsy and Dee Dee say they're blessed. Dr. Jordan says they deserve to be.
It was pretty devastating down there, it really was. And they never ever lost hope. I think they brought hope to everybody else that was down there.
This is home to us. We've been wandering for so long, and this is finally our home. So it's so good to be here.
So there were still so many unanswered questions whenever all of this started to come out to light. And I still have many questions. I think a lot of people still do, even though she's gone on to give several different interviews. you can look back at old footage like we just looked at and see a different dynamic than what she had previously described. Obviously, we all know that abuse doesn't go on out in the open, and many times what you see from people can be completely different than what is going on behind the scenes. And I do believe that she was horrifically abused. That's obvious now based on her healthy demeanor and her appearance that was completely altered by her mother's actions. And I think it's completely horrifying what her mother did. But I do think, and it's still to this day, I believe, unanswered as to whether or not there was a time whenever Gypsy Rose was going along with this willingly, when she was older, of a certain age, and had developed some sort of codependent relationship on her mother, and then began to benefit in different ways. Obviously, she got to meet different celebrities, she got different privileges and perks that went along with this make-believe story that her mother was putting out there. But I mean, it's arguable, because obviously somebody who's abused, their mental faculties are not the same as someone who is not living under those same circumstances. So I don't want to victim blame her. I don't want to blame her in any way, because she was a child and her mother was the one who was perpetrating abuse on her. But I do believe that she did have some sort of manipulation onto Nick Godejohn, and I think that was a recipe for disaster. Them meeting one another would lead to this catastrophic series of events and ultimately ruin his life forever, while she would go on to plead guilty to second-degree murder and only be sentenced to 10 years. So I do just want to play a portion of her interview just to kind of show her mentality and her mindset after they killed her mother, and she had sex with him at her house with her mother's dead body in the other room, and then ran away with him to Wisconsin and was staying with him in his parents' house for days, posted those fake posts on Dee Dee's Facebook page that were absolutely graphic and horrific in nature. And once they were apprehended by police, she acted like she didn't know what the hell was going on. She played stupid. She played dumb. And I'm sure she was scared. I'm sure she was traumatized. I'm sure she was all of that. But at some point, when do we hold people accountable? It's my question. And that's my biggest problem with all of this, is that, people are celebrating this woman. And I'm going to show you guys a few of the Instagram posts before we get out of here. It's become like a joke to me. Like the amount of praise and attention and just like psychopathic like adulation and just yas queening that's going on all over the internet in regards to this woman is baffling to me. I mean, let's be honest, she still wanted her mother to be killed in a horrific way. Okay, she still stole a knife to help facilitate that crime. She still was in the house whenever this crime was done, heard her mother's screams, and then when she was caught by the police, she wasn't apologetic, she wasn't sad, she wasn't any of those things. She tried to act like she didn't know what the hell was going on. So there is some level of understanding, there is some level of manipulation, and there is some level of playing up to your strength, which was that she sounded, looked, and felt like a little girl to everyone who met her. So let's just play a portion of this.
Do you ever do anything on the computer? Do you ever play games or anything on the computer? Do you ever mess with the computer or anything like that?
I don't really have a computer,
Okay.
no.
Did you ever have a cell phone that you played around on or anything like that? No? Okay. No laptop or cable fire or anything?
My mom didn't let me use one because she was like, it's unsafe. So
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why did she feel like that was unsafe?
My mom tended to be overprotective.
Okay.
But,
Did she?
yeah.
All right. That's understandable. I want to tell you that what I've got to talk to you about, if you're involved in this, you need to tell me that now. Okay?
I'm completely 100% honest.
And let me talk for just a second, okay? But if you're involved in this, then you need to be honest with me. You need to tell me now and not wait till later. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir. Well, it all started when I met my boyfriend Nick.
Okay.
And we met on an online dating website. My mom had a laptop, and so I used hers.
Okay.
But
Let me back up for just a second, okay? Earlier when I said let's be honest with each other, okay? I'll be honest with you as long as you're honest with me, okay? And I want you to understand that your honesty goes a long ways, okay? You don't want something in this nature to be like a big snowball. We'll use that as an example, okay? You don't want that snowball to be so big that you know how when you pack a snowball and it's real small, and what happens when you start rolling it down a hill? It's bigger, okay? And what happens if you start telling lies? They get bigger. And you don't remember which ones you said and which ones you told. And as soon as that thing gets so big, it goes down the bottom of the hill and it crashes into a lot of people, okay? I mean, a lot of people, all right? And it hurts a lot of people, right? Because it's so big and it crashes and hurts it. Now, if you're telling the truth, that's not going to happen, is that right? Okay, so that's kind of why I want you to be honest with me about this, okay? About some things, all right? So we need to, I'm here, okay? Because I don't think that this is something that you, the intention wasn't there. You know, I don't think you're a bad person. I really don't. I think that you're a smart person, okay? I think that you, you know, sometimes you get dealt a bad hand, and I think sometimes that's what's happening with you, okay? And I want you to understand that you need to be honest with me. And if you're involved in anything that I'm about ready to tell you, then you need to tell me, okay? Your mom's dead, okay? Now, what I want to ask you is, your mom's passed away, okay? And she's deceased, all right? Now, what I want to ask you, did you have...
Okay, girl, I'm sorry. Somebody get the Academy Award for her, okay? Because she's shocked to hear this. She can't believe it. She is feigning complete and utter stupidity.
Involvement in this, okay? Now, hang on, listen to me for just a second, okay? I want you to understand something, okay? You remember the snowball that we talked about? You remember the pencil that we talked about? I'm going to demonstrate something with a pencil here, okay? Look at me. Look at me for just a second, okay? Sometimes people are going along, you know how you got a pencil? You got the lead here and you got the eraser right here, right? You know what I'm talking about? You've seen a pencil, right? You've used a pencil before, right? Okay? And when you write with a pencil, you write your own story, right? Okay? And you take that pencil and you're writing along with your story. Well, sometimes some people make mistakes when they write stuff down, don't they? We've all made mistakes. You've made mistakes. I've made mistakes, right? You ever made a mistake in your life? And I've made mistakes in my life. And hang on just a second, okay? When you're writing this stuff down, all of a sudden you make a mistake. Well, what do you do with that mistake? You take that pencil and you flip it over and you start erasing stuff, okay? And you erase it and you recorrect it. And you take that pencil and then you rewrite your history, your story, okay? And I kind of think that's where you're at with this tonight, okay? That you have a chance to rewrite your story. And I think that that's what you can do, is you can rewrite your story tonight, okay? Like I said earlier, I don't think you're a bad person. I really don't. You know, I don't think that that's you at all. And you're not out here, you know, doing things that are so bad that nobody wants to talk to you, nobody wants to be around you. I don't think that's you, okay? But what I do think, okay, what I do think is there's some stuff going on that you and I need to talk about. And why these things happen, okay? And that's where we're at with this, okay? Now, I want you to understand something. That you need to be, look at me, okay? Look at me for just a second, okay? You're in a situation where you can help yourself right now, okay? And that's what you need to do, okay? You've got to help yourself, okay? Because the more and more you let that snowball roll down that hill and get bigger, what's going to happen is it'll explode. And that's what's going to happen with you, you know? You don't want that, do you? I don't think you do. I wouldn't want that. So we've got to rewrite history. We've got to rewrite some things, don't we? Okay? And I think that's where we're at with all this, all right? What happened with your mom that night?
I don't know what happened with my mom at all.
Okay, just listen to me, okay, sweetheart? You know what happened to your mom, okay? You know exactly, sweetheart, listen to me. Let's not go down that road of taking your pencil and writing a bunch of mistakes down. And then when you get to a certain point, that paper's gone, and guess what? You can't erase it, can you?
No.
You can't erase it anymore. Do you want that?
No.
I don't think you do. I think you're smart enough to understand where we're at with this, okay? I think you know, okay? And I know that you know, all right? I wouldn't be here if I didn't know, and I know the answer to a lot of these questions, okay? I already know them, okay? I know them, and I'm giving you a chance to be honest with me, okay? Because you don't want this thing to spiral out of control.
No.
Your boyfriend's in here, okay?
He's here.
He's in here, okay? All right? And do you think that we've not talked to people?
No, I know.
Listen to me before you say a whole lot. Do not dig yourself in a bunch of lies, because what's going to happen, that snowball's going to get so huge, sweetheart, that it's going to explode on you, and you're never, ever going to dig yourself out of it. Do you understand me?
I understand.
So I want to know, okay, why?
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 Why
Did you guys hurt your mom? Okay.
We would never
Sweetheart,
hurt
look at me. Look at me. Look at me. I've got kids. I've been doing this for a long time.
I know, sir.
And I want you to understand something. Don't dig yourself out. Don't go down that path, okay? Because listen to me for a second. You go down that path, and what's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen if you go down that path? It's not a path to go down.
If anything, I don't tell lies.
Okay, then don't sit here and lie to me, because if you do, what's going to happen is it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. You're not going to remember the ones that you've told other people, okay? Other people that I've probably already talked to. You understand that?
I understand.
Okay. Why?
Would you like me to start from the beginning?
I only want you to start from the beginning, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. And I'm glad you're making that progress, okay? I'm proud of you for that. But the first thing that we need to get out of the way right now is why. That's the biggest thing. You've got friends that love you.
Of course I know.
You
I know,
and your mom have friends that care for you.
I know.
You know what? They're down the bottom of this hill with that snowball, and they're asking all these questions. They're asking why.
I know.
Now, help me give them an answer as to why. Okay? You have to give me an answer as to why, because they are so concerned about you.
I know. I have a lot of friends in Missouri. I know that.
Okay.
And I would never hurt my mom.
Okay, sweetheart, do you really want to dig yourself? You're digging yourself deeper. Okay?
No, seriously, I would never hurt her.
Listen to me, okay? I don't play around with that, okay? I'm not going to play around with this, okay?
Sir, I didn't do anything.
Listen to me. Don't let that snowball get bigger, because that's what you're doing right now, okay? You have a chance. You have the opportunity right here and right now. Because once I walk out that door and that opportunity's gone, guess what? It's gone. It's just like when that paper's taken away, when you're writing that pencil, you don't have a chance to erase that mistake, okay? You need to, in your family, in your friends, and you don't have very many family members, but you've got a lot of friends. And we've talked to them all, okay? And every one of them want to know why. That's all they want to know. They still love you. They still care about you. Listen to me for just a second, okay? All they want to know is why. And I have to give that to them, because they can't sleep at night. Because they want to know why. That's all they want to know. Okay? That's all they're looking at.
Sir, I have a million questions right now.
Okay, and you know what? And I'm proud of you for wanting to ask those million questions. And you know what? We can answer those, okay?
Okay.
But we got to get down to the bottom of why.
Okay.
The why. And your family, your friends are very, very concerned about you. They all love you. But guess what?
Sure.
Those friends are standing at the bottom of that hill.
I understand.
And that snowball
I understand.
is getting ready to crush them, because they
I
want
think
to
I
know
said
why.
things very, very clearly. You think that it's me? Why would you think that it's me? I have always thought my mom and I are best friends.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Please don't dig yourself in this hole. And that's what you're doing. You're still doing it. You know what? People make mistakes every day. You do. I do. We all do. We've established that. And we'll establish it every time, because you know what? That's what this is. It's just a mistake. That's all it is. Okay? It's not something that's so huge out here. It's just, oh my gosh, it's a mistake. It's a simple little mistake.
My mom.
It's just a simple little mistake is all it was.
A simple little mistake, yeah. Having your mom killed in her sleep while you stand in the bathroom. It's just a simple little mistake, guys. Yeah, that's what it is. So like I said, she has been released from jail now, which I don't have so much of an issue with per se. My issue is the double standard and the laying solely on Nicholas, her ex-boyfriend, that I do feel she manipulated. And you know, granted, she was manipulated herself. I'm not trying to take any of her traumatic events that happened to her away from her, but I do think that she is absolutely not innocent in any sense of the word. Throughout this entire crime and throughout this entire process, she feigned stupidity when questioned by the police. She didn't come out with it the same way that Nick did. So that, I think that says something in and of itself right there, because it says something about their intelligence levels and the fact that she was able to understand that what she did was wrong and tried to cover it up massively. Like I said, give her the Academy Award for that performance. Absolutely. And now she, after having only done 8 years, is free to come out and live her life. She has this huge social media following now, and he might never get out of jail. And I just don't, something about that doesn't sit right with me, and that's my main problem. And I definitely don't feel that she should be receiving the attention or the amount of adoration or just praise that she has been receiving from everybody. All these interviews, all these hand-wringing, and just, oh, poor Gypsy Rose, you know, like, we all have to feel sorry for this girl. She had her mother killed in her sleep, okay? And my argument in regards to, you know, people who would say that, oh, she was abused for all these years, you know, her mother had been abusing her and manipulating her and withholding food from her. All that is horrifying. All that is so completely and utterly wrong. Her mother is a monster, but it doesn't change the fact of what she did. And she's just as big of a monster because she, instead of leaving that night, having Nick just come and pick her up and leaving the house, moving to Wisconsin to go be with him and starting her life there, she chose and she suggested a completely horrifying avenue of murdering her mother in her sleep. Okay, it's not okay to murder somebody in their sleep, even if they've been abusing you. It's just, we don't, when and where do we draw the line in society? That's my issue with this. People who are excusing this because she's an abuse victim. Okay, so are you saying that anybody who's ever abused ever can just go and kill their abuser as they lay sleeping completely defenseless? I mean, just listen to yourselves. And I'm not saying you guys, I'm just saying anyone who's defending her or saying that this was justified, because it absolutely was not. Now, had her mother been abusing her physically, like hitting her or, you know, trying to hold her there in the house physically, then yes, you can defend yourself. And that would have been the time to, you know, if you felt your life was being threatened, to use deadly force, you know, but that's not what happened. They plotted on this woman, and instead of just leaving the situation that she knew was bad, she knew was abusive, she chose to murder her. So this is some of the social media fuckery that has been on full display ever since she's been released. And I'll start with this. She was on The View. Okay, yes, because that's a thing apparently. People who are released from prison after murdering their mother or helping to murder their mother are then invited to go on The View, because that's a serious thing.
Are watching right now, please listen to me, heed my words, that you are not alone in this, you know, situation. There are other ways out. I did it the wrong way. No. You know,
don't say that.
I did. I did something wrong, and I paid my dues for it.
She had no choice. She had no choice. And then she realizes what she's saying, because she's a libtard idiot shit face. Joy Behar. No, don't say that. No, you know, don't. It's fine. What's a little murder between mother-daughter?
I mean, that part.
Yes, the part of it, you know, that part of it. Yeah.
Where are you going with this?
Yeah, no. You know, so I did something.
Murder is wrong,
yes, murder's wrong.
Yeah, murder is wrong, guys. If y'all didn't know, if you guys weren't aware, murder is wrong. So, that's what's going on here. And she was also invited to go be with some drag queens, apparently. That's because that's a thing. Okay. Now this was the weirdest thing I've seen on the internet so far. The fact that her new husband, is a dead ringer for her damn mother. What the hell is that about? Okay? 'Cause what? Do y'all see it? Do y'all see this or no? I'm deeply disturbed. Okay? What is happening here? And then she had to get online and tell everyone to stop making fun of her husband because he's got some good dick. Okay? This is 2024, people. This is the world we're living in. It's still clown world. It's still some bullshit. I'm not even completely sure we're living in a real world anymore, okay? She said, Ryan, don't listen to the haters. I love you and you love me. We do not owe anyone anything. Our family is who matters. If you get likes and good comments, great. If you get hate, then whatever, because they don't matter. I love you. Besides, they jealous because you are rocking my world every night. Yeah. Yeah, I said it. The D is fire. Happy wife, happy life. Okay? And he responded, you know, because they're over there adding each other and, you know, in each other's mentions and all. He said, who said I gave a damn about what these jealous people say anyway? Haha. Now come get it, baby. Okay. Okay. So that's where we're at, people. If you were thinking that this was going to be a serious year, people, okay, it's just not going to be, okay? This is what's happening. This is what we have so far, okay? It's not good. It's not good, okay? None of it is good, okay? Starting off bad. I mean, hello. This first comment is me. Didn't she murder her mom? Does no one care? No one care about that. We're just gonna like, yes, queen. We're just gonna slay girl. We're just gonna like, you know, girl boss this woman all the way to oblivion, you know? Okay. She's just, apparently everyone's queen, and she's, you know, getting all the snaps and all of the love from everyone, all over everywhere. So where is Nicholas Godejohn now? Godejohn was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison after pleading not guilty to stabbing Dee Blanchard to death in her bedroom, which was really honestly foolish because he had made a full confession and there was plenty of evidence forensically and just like digitally. Like there was just a buttload of evidence. So I don't know who advised him to take this trial, especially after she had taken a plea deal. That would have and should have been his next step, would be to also take a plea deal of some sort, which I think that was just bad legal advice from whoever had advised him to do that. And so I think that he needs to make an appeal based on ineffective counsel, because I just don't think that it's right that he, you know, after having been manipulated by this woman, should have to spend the rest of his life behind bars if she is now out free living her life, when again, if it weren't for her, he would never even have been in this position. And that's not to say that he couldn't have been manipulated by someone else later on down the road, gotten into a different sort of situation where he would have, you know, done something different. I don't know. No one can really know that. But I do think that the standards should be applied across the board to the same level. I think that people to say that she was not as culpable because she was not the one who actually delivered the stabs to her mother in her sleep, I think that's asinine. I think that's actually quite stupid, and I just don't agree with that. I think that it's either all or nothing. They should both still be in jail or be sentenced to practically the same sentence, in my opinion. Maybe she could get somewhat of a lighter sentence, but it shouldn't be 10 years. She gets 10 years and he gets life with no parole. I think that's absolutely unbalanced and unfair, and I think it's ridiculous. And the fact that she's already out now, gets to enjoy her life in her 30s, her early 30s, it's a miscarriage of justice, in my opinion. I don't think that's right. And if she is to be released, people think that that's what needs to happen and that's what people need to do and want to do, then he should be released too, or his sentence should be shortened. And I just, otherwise, how can you justify that? How can you justify that? He would have never known who this woman was to kill her had it not been for Gypsy Rose. And I do think 10 years was too short of a sentence in the first place anyways, because, I mean, you stole a knife so that your boyfriend could come and murder your mother in her sleep. That's pretty monstrous, okay? Pretty heinous activity there, ma'am. And I don't think she's innocent as innocent as people think she is and say she is, because if you look at that police interrogation video compared to his especially, it's obvious who had more going on upstairs mentally, and it's obvious who, you know, clearly knew right from wrong and knew what they did was wrong and tried to deceive, and who was just kind of maybe possibly a little bit mentally retarded and autistic. And I mean, I don't know, guys. I just don't agree with this whole uplifting of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, okay? You know, I don't necessarily have a problem with her being let out. I just think that it should be applied to both of them. If this is what people want to do. And if she is going to be let out, we don't need to make her a hero. We don't need to make her this shining beacon of like, oh, she's a good example, or she was a victim. She was a victim in the early part of her life, but then she became a monster and a killer, okay? So let's not placate this. Let's not placate this situation. Let's not play pretend. Let's not encourage bad behavior. We still have to have a line. We still have to have a standard in society when it comes to murder. And to me, that standard's pretty clear, okay? You can only murder someone when your life is in danger and it's in self-defense. She had the ability to leave. She might have been scared. She might have been manipulated. She might have been brainwashed. All of that. And I understand that. I get that. I understand what abuse is like. But at the same time, if you could plan for your mother to be murdered, you could plan also to leave just as easily. And I'm sorry, I just don't believe any different than that. So apparently he is appealing on the grounds of ineffective counsel, but the request was denied. So he's going to have to continue trucking along with his appeals. And I think that they should consider it, because how are you going to parole out this woman and not reconsider his circumstances when they did? I mean, honestly, I look at them the same. Honestly, I look at them the exact same. But that's just my opinion, guys. What do y'all think about it? I would love to know y'all's thoughts on this crime, on the outcome, and Gypsy getting out, and Nick still being held in prison, having to serve life without parole while this woman gets to live her best life. And it was her idea all along to facilitate the murder of her own mother. I don't think it's right. But that's just my opinion. Let me know yours. Please subscribe, guys, if you haven't already. I would love having you here. And let me know in the comments, like the video and all that. And until next time, I will see y'all later. Bye. This woman was in prison for 50 years, okay? The nerve of him to ask her, the last known person to be seen with his son, did you kill my son? The pretenses behind her attempting to clean any part of this crime scene. She had been accused of killing her husband by way of poisoning him.
Yeah, after that I get out, I walk home.
That confession was a joke. I mean, he could have said anything. He could have said anything, and there would have been no proof. Every time we see something like this, where it's like, there's no care or like regard, why would you cover for this man and allow him to leave the scene of the crime and act like he was never there?